Hello fellow interwebbers, mech builders and hobbyists. Time for another Filbot complete build, and today we're going to be having a look at Bert. Now Bert is one of the little Filbots. There are a couple of others. What we're going to do is we're going to go through complete build. So we're going to start with the components. These are straight out of the bag. We're going to go through the whole cleanup process all the way through to assembly. Now for those that aren't familiar with Bert, here he is. Very similar to Jeff. Please check out the other videos. There's one with Jeff on there. You can see the similarities. Conical body and the squashed spherical head, but different arms and a single orb for the eye, and obviously a different wheel as well. So as usual, we're going to take a few tools, a few basic tools. We've got a scalpel, a jeweler's file, a pair of clippers. We have a sanding block. I cannot recommend these enough. I have different grades on each of the sides. They were very cheap, and they have an edge, which is important, and some super glue. That's really all we're going to need to go through this process. So with any resin kit, this is a simple kit of just 6 components, including the base. But it's always worth recommending, just going through, making sure you have the right number of components, that you've got the right ones. Just lay them out so you know where they're all supposed to go. So we've got a little wheel at the bottom, we've got 2 arms here, we've got the body in the middle, the head at the top, and then obviously the base. So just put those to one side. We'll just have a look at each component. This is the base. As you can see, the top is detailed like some decking on some kind of sci-fi ship. So something interesting to paint as well there. There's a feed on the bottom that we're going to have to get rid of. And it'll be the same on the other pieces. So this is the head. Wait for the camera to focus. There we go. So one eye, 5 little holes or recesses for the mouth, got a hole for the bottom where the neck goes in. No aerial on this one like the Jeff, just an orb on the top. And again, there's a big feed block on the back that we're going to need to be careful. That we're going to need to get rid of. This is the body. A small triangular panel on the front. Not too much detail on here. There's a couple of panel lines. There's some little tiny holes where some little rivets or screws would be. And the next section. This is the wheel. As you can see, there's 2 pins on there. We've got a little tiny one that actually goes into the bottom of the body, and the big one is another feed that we need to cut off. And then we have the 2 arms. Now these ones actually have fingers set in a certain way. This one actually is pointing. Now these do fit in any arm. So you can put them on any side. Obviously, if you want to do it very similar to a human hand, just bear in mind which side you want the pointing finger to be on, and then we have a flat hand there. So we'll jump straight into the cleanup. Get rid of the feed off here now. Because this is a curved surface, I would always recommend not clipping the resin off all the way to the body. Just leave a little bit extra on as I did there, because you can then take the last bit off with a knife, but more importantly you can actually follow the knife and the contours of the piece, rather than having a flat section that you've somehow got to file away. So just take that off. You can run the knife over the smooth area and actually just feel for any little bumps or anything that stands proud. So take as much off with a knife as you can without worrying too much. Just take the jeweler's file. You can take the most of that off. I'll just make sure that's flat. And now jeweler's files are great. They are very fine. However, they will still leave marks in resin. And if it's right next to a piece of resin that is completely untouched, you will notice a difference in the texture, and that will show up more when you start painting. So just make sure, if you do use needle file, you just go back with some very fine sandpaper just to take away the marks left by the file. You probably can't see on the camera here, but I'm actually using a slightly circular motion again, just to reduce the amount of marks I'll be putting on the resin, even with this fine sandpaper. Just Just make sure it's all gone. Just feeling with my nail there, just getting some of the resin dust out of the panel line. That's that done. So next we have the body. So we have a gate or a feed on the bottom. So I'm just going to snip that off. The bottom's actually quite flat, so we can just take all of that off so it's nice and smooth. Careful, and then obviously just make sure we've got nothing overhanging that lip. A little bit of resin in the hole. That's gone. Then we have a small mould line that just runs down the body here. Just going to take most of that off with a knife. Now I'm just feeling for it. It's actually so small I'm going to feel for it with my nail, but again, I know if I don't, and when it comes to painting, I will regret of not sorting it at this stage. Nothing worse than painting a model and then having to stop and go back and correct another part. It's very difficult to match your colours and your paints afterwards, especially if you're using things like filters and oils or powders. So really just spend that extra time now making sure you get everything absolutely spot on. Again, slightly circular motions. Now this mod line, although it's very, very small, actually runs all the way up. That's fine. Up onto the side of the neck there. So again, I'm just going to get rid of that little bit there. And on the other side, now this bit here actually runs near this triangle, so I'm just going to make sure I get this little bit of a mod line here, but I obviously don't want to ruin anything. So this is where this little triangle section here obviously has a very defined edge. It's places like these where this these sandpaper blocks with an edge, really do come into their own. I think I've probably had more use out of these than I have my needle files in the last few months, and very cheap, very cheap. So I'm just making sure I've got it all. Just using the edge again. Just have a quick feel with my nail. Brilliant. Okay, so the little wheel on the bottom. Now this little pin here, this actually goes into the bottom of the body like so. So we need to leave that one on. So you can spin that around in whatever orientation you want. But this big one here, this is the feed, so we need to take this one off. So again, it's a slightly curved surface, so don't take it all the way down to the model. Take most of it off with the clippers and then just do the last bit with a knife. Now there's a small step on here as part of the detail. So as I'm taking this feed off and I sand this flat, I'm just going to have to be careful of this step. Again, this is where the edge of that sanding block is going to come in really useful, because I can just run it along the edge, rather than over the top of all the detail and just rounding all the corners off. I can keep all those corners nice and square. All those edges. So just stick the edge on that step. Great, try not to lose the component. So the base just has one big feed on the bottom, so just snip that straight off. Now this is a flat surface, so get as close to the resin as you can. Save yourself a little bit of time. Again, go back in after with a knife. Just take that off so it's nice and flat, and we'll sit flush on a surface, on a table or a shelf. Just going to give the bottom a quick blast with some sandpaper. Great. Okay, so now we have the arms to do. Now the arms, I'm not sure if it picks it up so well on this this particular shot, but there are lots of little tiny feeds on the tips of each finger. So the problem with casting things so fine, like the fingers on here, is you end up with little areas where bubbles do like to get trapped. Little bits of air can be quite difficult to get rid of. So by putting these little feeds on, we give the air somewhere to escape. So even though the feed's on the top, we've got these little areas on the bottom, which also just gives us a chance to push the air out. So because these are so fine as well, just be really careful as you're cutting the little feeds off. I mean, I'm just doing the bit on the back of the forearm at the moment, but when you're cutting the feeds off the fingers, just try and support the fingers as you cut them, because the last thing I want to do is try and cut these little the feeds off and actually snapping one of the fingers off as well, because having to glue them back on would be a little bit of a headache. I mean, it's doable, but the surface area would be quite small, so it's always best not to break it in the first place. So I'm just taking the little bit off the back of the forearms, a little feed there, and we've done a feed off the ball joint at the top. So there's no other mold lines on there other than those little feeds. That's that one done. So repeat the process on this one. So all the little feeds off the end of the fingers. Again, just be very, very careful. Quite fiddly some of this. So these are definitely the trickiest bit of the model, but mostly that's only taken a few seconds, so even if that's the most difficult bit, it gives you an idea of just how little work there really is to do. So we're about 12 minutes in and we're almost cleaned up. I'm just going to take the feed off the top of this and the ball joint on this arm as well. Again, do it with the clippers, last bit with a knife, and then what I will do is a quick plaster with the sandpaper. So getting this bit smooth now will just mean you have a bigger surface contact area for the glue. Also, the bigger that area, the more strength the joint will have. So I'm just making sure I've got this out of here now, and where I'm slightly off camera at the moment, I've just got this a little bit close to my face. It's either this out of shot or the top of my head. Keep my thinning hairline out of the camera, I think. So I'm just making sure I've got all of that clean, that little feed on the back of the forearm. There's a little line here, is that a mold line? So there's a tiny little mold line here. Now it is there, but I mean it's so small I have to double check actually it's there with my fingernail, but again, if you suspect a mold line, just get rid of it. A little bit left. Very little work to do. All gone. Straightforward. So, assembly. Now, also I've got a Bert already, and the black one that I showed you at the beginning of the video. He's leant quite far back. He's pointing to one side. Now, obviously I don't want to do that pose again, so I'm going to do something different. So I'm actually going to have him leaning forward, I think. So first thing I need to do is just a bit of a blob on the top of this neck. There we go, and instead of tilting the head forward on the black Bert, I'm going to tilt this one back. That's fine. Okay, now is body and his head are aligned on this one, so I'm going to do exactly the same with the wheel. So I'm just going to line this up with the rest of the body and the head, make sure it's all facing in the same direction, which it is. And he's going to obviously be put on the base. Now I'm going to put him a little further back on the base. If I glue him into the middle, he'll be lent a little too far forward, then he's always going to be in danger of tipping up. Never a good thing, especially spending time and money putting all these things together, and then obviously investing more time painting. Last thing you want to do is to break it or ruin your paint job. So which way make it as stable as possible. So just decide on where I want the arms. So I think I'm just going to have them casually out to the side as he speeds forward. Just making sure, I thought I felt a little bit of movement, but just making sure they're tight. And obviously when you sand the ball joints at the top of the arms, this is the bit where you'll find it makes everything a little bit easier. If you end up with blocks of resin, you'll struggle to be able to move these arms around a little bit, so cutting those off makes this bit easier. Just deciding on exactly where I want these arms. I think I'm going to have one of them slightly further backwards, and the other one further forward, I think. Just making sure it's all solid. Still deciding. Because once this is glued, it's not really going to come apart again. Not without breaking it anyway. Okay. So I've decided where I want everything. So bit of glue in there. Just hold it for a few seconds. It shouldn't take long for that to grab. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to put the glue in the hole rather than on the top of the ball joint, just so I don't get anything on the surrounding section of the miniature. Hold that in, a few seconds, there we go, nice and easy. So I'm just going to attach him to the base now. As I mentioned, I'm going to put him sat a little farther back on the base, so we get his centre of gravity as close to the middle as we can. So a little off centre. Just going to hold him in place for a few seconds. I'm just going to use the trusty super glue activator. And there we have it. So, super glue away. There's our new Bert. There we go, completely different pose to the other guy. Looks like he's racing forward. Just wait for my camera once again to focus. Oh, I've remembered what I need to do. It would help if I just do that. There we go. Still getting used to this internet video thing. There we have a bit. So, another complete bit. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. I will try and make a video for each of the products that we have. Here he is compared to the other guy. So complete different pose, same 5 components. Not sure what colour I'm going to do yet, but something different, I think. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon for the next complete build video. That's how easy it is to build Little Bird. Thank you. See you soon.